UK Z-Day, Part 4, Home. It normally takes me about 45 minutes to walk the almost 3 mile distance back to my house, but seeing what I had seen and doing what I had just done tends to put a spring in your step. After I was a few hundred metres from the hospital and out onto the main road, everything was so normal, contrasting with the fear and panic and terror I had just seen. People driving on by like the world had not suddenly gone mad. The only odd thing to the rest of the world was the extra emergency vehicles with sirens on speeding to the hospital. But of course no one took any notice of this. It was a hospital after all. I considered going back, trying to figure out what happened. I decided against it and realised what an odd state I must look, just standing on the side of the road with a metal mop pole in my hand and a coat which I just noticed had taken on some dark stains. I smelled it. A whiff of rotten meat settled at the back of my throat and I choked. I took my coat off, leaving me with just my purple work t-shirt. Very stylish. I walked up the road and smoked a cigarette, turning to the left to the local Tesco supermarket. Everything was in a daze. More normal things were happening around me, people carrying on with their lives. Anger came up inside me, festered. I wanted to shake them, ask them why they didn't care what had just happened to me. Of course, they had no way of knowing this, and my reaction was that of all humans who go through stress. Nobody loves me, everybody hates me. I walked through the double doors, grabbing a plastic carrier bag and shoved my coat inside it. Why was I here? I should be calling the police, screaming, panicking, anything other than this. But no, here I am, deciding what kind of bread I want and which toilet paper John does not think feels like sandpaper against his big fat ass. For 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, that's all I wanted. I craved normality, peace. I got some crisps and headed to the counter. The girl behind the till asked me if I was okay. So, are you okay? I looked at her for a brief moment and considered telling her everything that just happened. But I buried it back down inside me. God, I remember when people didn't call me sir. I'm only 24 for God's sake. I muttered I was fine after a pack of cigarettes, paid and wandered back out into the parking area. The scene had changed since I was last out. I looked down the road to the junction that would take you to the hospital. Directly on the junction there were half a dozen police cars stopping traffic in all directions. People climbed out of their cars and angrily started to yell at a dozen or so officers, all of whom were busy talking on walkie-talkies or putting up what looked like crowd control barriers. I walked closer till I was only a few feet away from the barriers and looked down to the road that would take you to the hospital. It was just out of view, but I could see an army of police cars outside of it. Was that a military truck? No, that's stupid. That stuff only happens in the movies. An officer in his 50s approached me. Sorry, son. Road's closed. I need you to take a few steps back. Looks like you had the day off. Pardon? I replied. I was surprised that he knew that I worked at the hospital. He nodded at my shirt, indicating where it said NHS Trust. Of course, officer. I'm sorry. Do you know what's going on? He shook his head and rattled something off about a mild public disturbance. Nothing to worry about, just a precaution. I apologised again to the officer and walked away, not wishing to draw any more attention to myself. Precautions. Mild disturbance. Not if you've just seen what I have. I turned round and walked home. seeing no more signs of the panic and terror that was about to come. After half an hour or so I turned onto Camden Road. This road runs for a small town in the southeast of England. I walked past all the shops, starting to wind down from the working day. I waved at the guys in the kebab shop where me and John and Ty were regulars. John and Ty, short for Tynham. I know, weird name, but I didn't pick it. They were my best mate and my youngest brother respectively. John had come to stay with us for a couple of weeks, about a year ago. We'd been best friends since we'd met 5 years ago. I was slightly older than him. Ty was my youngest brother, 19, 20 this year. The youngest of 3 boys, he's lived with me for 2 years since our mother died. The middle child, Toby. Yes, I'm well aware that all of our names begin with T, but I didn't pick them. Toby lives just round the corner in a 1-bedroom flat with one of my ex-girlfriends. No, they're not sleeping together. Toby has a girlfriend. I hadn't spoken to Toby since before Christmas, but the thought of contacting him was pushed out of my mind with the sudden realisation that I was at my front door. I live in a small 2-bedroom, second one in terraced house. Me and Ty having a bedroom each and John having a front room, which is converted into his bedroom. The only thing I didn't like about the house was the fact you had to walk through Ty's bedroom to get to the bathroom, creating obvious privacy issues. I opened the door and stepped in. The bailiffs had been again while I was out, requesting immediate payment, blah blah. I ripped the thing up and threw it in the bin. John was still in bed asleep, but he didn't have work till 5, so that was fine. Well, if there wasn't a 5? I decided not to wake John, headed upstairs, went to the bathroom. Ty had not been to college today. Teacher training or something. What was the point in sending to university if they still needed more training? He was asleep, probably shattered after staying up till 8 this morning playing video games. So many things raced through my head. I dunked my head under the cold tap. That helped a bit. What would a rational person do in this situation? Put on the news? Unfortunately, it's the best idea I can come up with. If it's that serious, it will be on there. I walked into my bedroom, dropped onto the bed and flicked on my TV and laptop. That's when I saw the hospital staring back at me from an aerial view from the circling helicopter. Underneath on the screen, I could see the small figures wandering around outside the hospital, covered in blood, some still chasing down the few living remaining. My eyes rose to the headline, "The Dead Walk." Part 5, A Shopping Trip. Coming soon.